So one of the most common clients or client scenarios, I guess is probably better to phrase it, that we come across here at CTT Group, particularly with our private client team, is people that have got substantial number of properties within their ownership, commonly known as rental or buy-to-let properties. These are often been a great investment during the client's lifetime because they've enjoyed both capital appreciation and, of course, a regular income stream. Now, as clients get older and their thoughts turn maybe from growth of wealth and growth of income to possible taxation consequences when they die, i.e. of course inheritance tax, they start thinking slightly differently. Now these clients are approaching us and we're getting an awful lot of them that are saying, well, how do I scale down my portfolio? How do I reduce the value of my estate for inheritance tax purposes? Now with cash and other investments we spoke about in previous videos, it's pretty easy, just give it away. You can give it into trust, write a check, bank transfer, whatever it is. Properties, a lot more tricky, unfortunately. Now, most of us probably know that the house that we live in, our principal private or main residence, it's often known, is you can sell that free of capital gains tax. No matter how much profit you make, any periods that you've lived there, that profit will be enjoyed tax-free when that property is sold. It's capital gains tax-free. Now, the big problem with if you own additional properties, such as buy-to-lets, of course, you don't live there. You're on the ownership, but you live elsewhere. So all the time that you've owned, all this capital growth that you've enjoyed now comes home to roost because you're going to suffer capital gains tax. Now there's been a small concession at the recent budget, so the headline rate has gone down from 28 pence in the pound to 24 pence in the pound, i.e. 24%. But if you've made 2, 3, 4, 5, 600,000 pounds of profit or even more, 24% of that is a big penalty to pay if you're going to dispose of those properties. A big and very common misconception is, well, I'm not going to sell these properties. I want to keep them. I want my children to have the enjoyment I've had out of them in terms of the capital appreciation and the income stream. I want to give them away to my children. It doesn't make any difference whether you give it away or sell it for capital gains tax. The profit that you've derived will be subject to the same principles, i.e. 24 pence in the pound above your capital gains tax allowance, which is currently £3,000 per owner. So you can see significant penalties. Now, lots of estate planners that we deal with and lots of professionals, solicitors, etc., accountants, that's it. They run the tax calculation and that's the decision-making process for you. Can you afford to pay this tax? Can you pay 24% tax to try and save the 40% inheritance tax? Now, we and our private client team have lots of strategies that can sometimes completely mitigate this liability by doing a certain type of trust, or at least giving you an option to pay less tax or defer the payment of that tax until a later date where it may be more easy to find those funds. But you have to know what you're doing. There's several and multiple options available to you as a buy-to-let owner if you want to dispose and give those properties away. But if you move one way, there can be significant penalties when you compare that to another. I'll give you some names. So you could have Section 260 available to you, which is Holdover Relief. So there could be ability to defer that capital gains tax. You may have owned the property that a relative has lived in for a period of time. We can probably exempt the periods for which that relative lived in your property from capital gains tax. And lots of other applications, some small wins, some bigger wins, but if you don't ask, you don't know. And so again, I would implore you, if you're in this position, to at least make contact with our private client team, and the email will pop up on the screen as I'm talking.